Hi, everybody. Vivek here from Meaningful Ideas and GentleParentsUnite.com. And if you know me and you follow my stuff, you know I am not a big fan of parents setting boundaries and limits on their kids. I'm right now just finished editing an audio that I gave during a talk called Boundaries and Limits UGG. And, and the reason for that is there's this idea that's very, very popular that says that when boundaries make kids feel safe. And when we say boundaries and limits, of course, we're talking about imposed boundaries and limits where the kid doesn't have choice or they have limited choice. And then at some point we have the power and we can take away the iPad or make them eat the thing or not let them eat the thing or make them go to sleep or make them go to bed and lock them in their rooms or make them do homework and all the stuff that we control kids around, that their lives are regularly, they feel controlled. And so the idea that these imposed boundaries make a kid feel safe, whoever came up with that, it wasn't a kid. And they didn't do it by asking kids. It's just not the way it is. And that's not the way it actually plays out in real life. Kids are upset and they don't like it and they feel mistreated. That's the reality. And yes, we can empathize with that, but we're empathizing with the very pain that we cause them, that we could just not do it by just not doing it. And so they know that. Kids are smart. They know that. Anyway, so I made this audio and I want to share it with you, and I decided to make it as a video to put it on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. And so please follow me on all those places. It's at Meaningful Ideas. I'd love for you to listen to this audio and let me know what you think of the ideas that I share, because I go more into detail about why I think this way and what the impact of it is, and a little bit about what we can do instead also. And let me know what you think of the ideas I share. And that's it. Today I'm going to use this little bit of time to vent a little bit, and it's probably a vent that you'll hopefully enjoy and agree with. I recently saw this post that I think is starting to get shared around a little bit, and it was the whole thing about boundaries making kids feel safe again. And that's such a popular it's such a popular viewpoint, you know. And it really bugs me. It bugs the crap out of me, because the explanation is always, if you feel this is a justifiable boundary or limit, let's say limit, limit's better. If you feel this is a justifiable limit, and your kid, is screaming and crying and begging, you should just have the confidence to say no and hold that no, and know that, and the kicker for it is, and know that that's what your child really wants. That it really makes them feel safe. That's what they really want. They don't actually want to be in control of their lives. They don't actually want to make decisions. And when they say they want the thing, they don't actually want it. And so your job is to make them feel safe by letting them cry and then empathizing. And of course, if our kids are crying, I'm the first person to say, let's empathize with them. But if we're the ones who made them cry and it's an avoidable reason, because a lot of the times it's not avoidable, right? Like, you know, if your kid says that they want a new bike, and the bike costs $500, and you don't have $500, you can't buy the bike. Or you don't have $500 that it makes sense to spend on that bike, because you need to spend it on food and rent and whatever. And then, there are some really valid reasons, you know, and I often say that we had to say no to our kid for more things than we could have said yes to because of our financial situation when she was growing up. But that's not what this is about, right? This is about the avoidable ones. These are the ones where I think they should, about what they should eat and when they should eat and how they should eat and how they should talk and when they should talk and when they should sleep, and, you know, and all the different things that we say no to. And then this whole idea of them, literally it said screaming and crying and begging, and that what they really want you to do is not listen to that, just empathize. Just empathize and hold the boundary, and then that's what makes them feel safe, because you're the strong adult and you can contain their big feelings. I commented on this person's post and I said, you know, if we did that to any other demographic of human, that when they're screaming and yelling and begging that they don't want to do this thing or they do want to do this thing, and we use our power to stop them, and then we say, oh, they don't really know what they want. We really know what they really want and what they really need, and they don't know. And so we're going to let them scream and cry and beg, but we're still going to do the thing using our power. That we would be horrified. Why do we do it with children? These people are that post these kind of things, people in the parenting education world and people who are teaching similar kind of things, but this is where one of the main areas where we diverge, and where I am more focused on the human relationship and the consent and the model that sets and all that stuff. I mean, I've written pages and pages and pages on that. I have this like 17-page article I still haven't, I started working on like 2 months ago, and I got so emotional about it, I had to put it away for a little while. And so, I think I might, after reading that article today, that piece today, I feel like I want to pull my article out and start working on it again. And I was just telling the story about how my neighbors across the hall, they had some friends visiting, and they were all playing on the front lawn, and they had these big glow sticks, and one of the kids threw it up, and it got stuck in the tree, and we heard all this commotion, and so we were like, my family, whenever we hear commotion, we peek out the windows, and we're looking to see what's happening, and we were peeking out. We noticed what was happening. I said, I'm just going to go out and see if I can help, because our balcony was in line with the height of the tree where this glow stick was stuck. And so my daughter ran and got her soccer ball from her room, and I asked them, do you want help? And they were all, yeah, please. And I threw the soccer ball at the branch, and I just missed. And so one of the adults threw it back up to me, which was kind of fun anyways, throwing it up and down on the balcony, right? And then I threw it at the branch again. And then at one point it rolled away a little bit, and the two kids, they're like 4 and 6 or something, they both ran for the ball, and they didn't quite see each other, and they smashed into each other and crashed into the concrete. And the younger one's crying, and the older one got up and was like a little bit confused, running around. But then they all settled back down. And then the older one, I said, hey, why don't you let the kids throw the soccer ball a little bit? So then they were trying to throw it, and of course they're only throwing it like 2 or 3 feet high in the air. They can't get anywhere near the branch. But I wanted them included, right? I always want the kids included, and to give a real try, And I'm like, that's a great try. So what a great throw. Thanks for pitching in and trying to help too. And so then the older one was really getting into it, and 2 or 3 times. And then the younger one was, when it fell to the ground, was going to get it to have a chance too. And the older one dove for the ball and was like ripping it out of the younger one's hand. And I knew in that moment that like any second now that was going to become a fight, right? And I could see them. And I kind of I don't know the kids really well because we're not really close to our neighbors, but I know them well enough because we see them outside all the time. We see them in the hallways. And so I kind of knew that but I know kids, right? And so I knew that this was going to escalate. And just before it escalated, I said, hey, you know what's a great idea? Maybe you can both take turns throwing the ball, that we can all try and get the glow stick out of the tree. You could try and you could try. Let's just take turns. Right? No, I didn't say, hey, let's take turns. There was no wrongness in it. It was just like this interesting idea that we could try on, And the older one kind of looked at me for a second, just handed the ball to the younger one. No fight, no argument, no need for me to be an authority. And granted, I was thinking about it later, and granted they probably somewhat trained to listen to adults, probably. So there's probably some of that played into it. But also I know these kids would also like to fight with their adults also. So there's like a little bit of both, right? But this is like a very different approach that they experienced, and it had that beautiful result. And then they just kind of threw the ball. I didn't have to say anything after that. They just kind of threw the ball back and forth, and we're trying to get in the tree, and then the adults took over, and then that didn't work. And then what I ended up doing is I ended up getting a tennis ball and tying it to the end of a couple of, I tied two skipping ropes together, and I was like swinging it like a thing, throwing it at the tree. And finally we got it down, and everybody was applauding and cheering, and it was really fun. And there's so many ways that we can engage with our young people without using the
force and power that's so commonly suggested out there. And I know we don't all know how to do that. And I know that it takes time to learn those skills. And I know that we have that old stuff still in us. And I know that it doesn't always work out how we want to. I know all that. But the other stuff also, we don't really know what we're doing. We're just kind of making it up as we go along. And this whole boundary thing is something that nobody really knows why we do it, except that it's always been done. And it's the only thing people can think of in difficult moments. And so then we tell ourselves that it's making the kids feel safe. And that's what they really want. Although I've never met a kid that wants to scream and cry and beg and feel safe because of it. Like the way that people have convinced themselves this makes kids feel safe, it boggles my mind. Like, how does that make someone feel safe? I can't see it. For the life of me, I can't see it. And so it makes the parents feel better to think that it makes the kids feel safe. Yes. And so it's, for me, it's worth the effort of working towards trying to find these other ways of doing things. And that's what we do here, right? That's why we talk every week. That's why we go deep into the philosophy. That's why we make a million mistakes and try and learn from them. And that's why, we keep studying, we keep working, and we keep digging, because it's not just like trying to control the behavior of children, right? It's something more than that we're doing here. We're going into the idea of what it means to be humans relating to each other in a way that is not violent and not oppressive, in a way that is collaborative and connecting. And like, this is something deep that the world needs, that's starting from this young age, implementing these ideas and these way of relating to each other is so important, because it frames the lens that kids are going to see the world through. It frames the mindset that they're going to approach things. It frames the way that when they experience challenges, they experience obstacles, how that's going to filter through their mind and their process and their consciousness and the choices they're going to make, And it's so important. It's so important. And, I don't really know what else to say about it, except that this is something that to me is so worth talking about. And I need to write something about it. And I was going to go live earlier today, but I just didn't have time, because I just need to vent. So before I write, I need to vent some of this out of my system. Otherwise I'm going to be too emotional, and then I'm going to be all blamey and shamey when I write it. And I don't want to do that, because I don't really want to make people feel bad. Because it's nobody's fault that we don't know about this in general. It's nobody's fault, because so many people, even the most wonderful, gentle people, are still teaching that part. It's like kids' rights, kids' things, but in this case, no. And so it's just something that I needed to get off my chest. So thank you so much for listening. I'm not going to go on too much today. But I do want to also say that, those of us that are working on this, I know that we're not always perfect at it. I certainly haven't been. And I have a lot of stories of those mistakes too, But the fact that we're working really hard to undo those old cycles and change the way that we are working with our kids, it's something that's so meaningful to me. Every time somebody puts that effort in, that sweat and the blood that comes with it, the sweat and the blood and pulling our hair out, every time we make that effort, it's just, for me, it's just a gift. It's a gift to our kids. It's a gift to me personally, because I've devoted my whole life to this philosophy. And it's a gift to the world, because, you just look online on any post about almost anything, and you'll see so much division and anger and hatred and prejudice that's out there. It's so painful. And I fall prey to it too, because I have that stuff in me too, and I lose my center all the time, and I treat people in ways that I wish I didn't, And I want to also, I forgive myself for it, and I work through it. But I want to do what I can to be an agent of change. And I know that the way I treat my kid, the relationship that I form with them, and the resulting mindset that comes from that, is one of the best ways I can be an agent of change, one of the most profound ways I can, and one of the most direct ways I can, because that's where I have some of my most direct influence, right? And so I think that's really, I think it's really worthwhile. So I want to thank all of you for that. And anyone who's listening to this later, I want to thank you for the effort that you put in to make a change. And when you do feel that sense of wanting to set a limit and hold that limit, setting a limit, discussing a limit, and working with limits is a natural part of life, like my wife came into the bedroom this morning when I was supposed to be meditating and I was on my phone. She said, "Vivek, are you arguing with angry people?" Because she knows I have a tendency to do that, and I'm really trying not to, right? So we're working together to help me with that limit that I know is good for me, to not argue with angry people, because it's like that thing about you can't win a game of chess against a squirrel. Because they'll just knock all the pieces over, poop on the board, and run away. You can't win that game of chess. There's no way. And yet I get into it because like my childhood stuff, it comes at me, and I'm trying to like justify myself, and I can feel it. I can feel it. Sometimes I'm lost and I can't feel it, but then I have this moment where I can peek my head above water just for a moment, and I can say, "Oh, Vivek, you're trying to prove your worth and your validity and your value by winning this argument against this random stranger who's also trying to prove their worth and their value and their acceptability by telling you you're stupid." And then we're both doing this, and there's no human connection. There's no human communication happening, and whether that person ever gets to that point or not, it's not helping me. I'm not telling anyone else about how they should interact online, but this is my thing that I'm working on. And then the family is kind of like, we're all participating in this. My daughter reminds me, my wife reminds me, and feel free, if you ever catch me doing it, to remind me, drop me a line saying, "Hey, I have some friends also, they'll drop me a private message saying, 'Hey, Vivek, I noticed you were being really aggressive with that person. Are you all right? What's going on?'" I'm like, "Oh, thank you." So, it's not like we don't have limits. It's not like as human beings engaging in the world together and in relationship together that we don't work on limits. It's just that we're not doing it from that power over coercive place. We're doing it in a way that we're really trying to work together. And we're really trying to honor each other's humanity. And as adults, we have a higher responsibility for that in the relationship. We always do. It's one of the burdens of being an adult in an adult-child relationship, the burden of integrity, because we have all this power. You can't, my short saying for systemic power is, it's power you didn't choose and power you can't refuse. So we have this power over them, and we have to have a lot of integrity and a lot of consciousness not to use that power in a coercive and damaging way. And that's a life work. Honestly, it's a life work. And I'm still engaged in it, in my own life with my kid and my partner and my family, and then, my extending spheres of influence that I have with different people.
And that's it, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that and got something out of it. My name is Vivek Patel, and you can follow me on my social media at Meaningful Ideas on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and Instagram, and also meaningfulideas.com is my website, which needs a lot of work. And then if you want to work with me more personally, you can join my membership group at gentleparentsunite.com that I host with my good friend and business partner, Sujai Johnston. And that's it, everyone. Peace out.